Hello everyone, I'm Bodo the Wild, and welcome back to Custom Robo. While I did promise you guys a plot dump in this day, we don't get the plot dump at the first half of the day, we actually get it in the second half of the day. So you're safe for right now, because we have to go back to Diamonds again, because Rahu has shown back up there for whatever reason. We could have fought Rahu in other places, we could have fought him at Hub Park. Nah, we're going back to Diamonds. Because, like, you only go to Hub Park once in the story at the beginning of the game, but you go to Diamonds twice because of Rahu. And of course, Lucy is blissfully unaware of what's going on at Diamonds. Of course, the situation at Diamonds is about to get a whole lot worse when we get there. And that's mainly because, yeah, we see Evil fighting Rahu. It's funny that Diamond's restaurant was closed the last time, because the whole entire reason why it was closed is because the owner didn't actually call the police the first time, so it's gonna get closed again because he did the same thing. And, yeah, shocking twist. You know who's evil? The man named Evil. Oh, what a twist. Custom Robo isn't exactly award-winning story writing now, is it? But basically he's gonna join Eliza, who's the woman we fought at the research lab. So we actually have her name now. And we also learned that, yeah, Evil's the one who, kind of planned the stuff at the research lab, because he disabled the security and caused the break-in. I say in quotes because, yeah, he just broke the window and created a story that they broke in. Now, there's going to be a bit of trickery here, as this woman doesn't know about what Evil promised to her, and that's because it's not actually Eliza. In another shocking twist, Eliza has a twin sister. We won't know that until the end of the game. So I'm just gonna say it right here because you can figure that out super easily. Mainly because you can tell that on her title card she doesn't actually have Eliza's name, but she looks exactly like Eliza, so it's like, oh, yeah, it's her twin sister. It's just that we won't get her name until the end of the game. And Harry's Robo is still with the cops because it got busted during the whole entire tournament and fighting Rahu. Bit of a who's on first, what's on second situation where Eliza's sister doesn't actually know what they're talking about, because it's not actually Eliza. It's funny because Eliza's sister is literally just Eliza's modeled flipped, and at least she's gonna be nice to us and give us time to go to the parts generator, which I already did. I have no parts, so let's actually fight this mysterious woman. This fight is much like the same fight that we had against Eliza. You're just going to notice that she has the waning arc weapon instead of the waxing arc. That's your cue to show that, hey, this is not Eliza, it's her twin sister. The map, of course, is Panic Cubes because both Eliza and her twin sister use the same map, which means we get some of that sweet, sweet music. Eliza and her sister aren't using their fully illegal kit. We'll see that the next time we fight them. Because, surprise, we do have a double battle against them. Again, her main gun is literally just the same as the other main gun. It just means it fires in the opposite direction. Again, waxing and waning arc are just better left and right arc guns. They just have better homing potential and do more damage. Again, that's how a lot of illegal parts are. They're just better versions of the standard parts. So they typically do more damage or have better homing. But even then, this fight's not that difficult. The Eliza fight wasn't difficult. This fight isn't difficult. And much like with the Eliza fight, she's gonna pull the tactic of, "You didn't win! You didn't win!" But before we can actually fight her again without the safety switch, Oboro shows up with the blue hair man. This is where we start to learn there's some fracturing in the Z Syndicate. We'll learn why that is later. The only thing you need to know about the Z Syndicate fracturing as of right now is that there are multiple leaders claiming to be the leader of Z. So Oboro claims he's a leader, Eliza and her sister claim to be the leaders, and the blue-haired man is kind of the assistant of Oboro. Yeah, but Harry, she's had character development now. So she can face the blue-haired man. And yeah, if you're wondering, that blue-haired man is Sergei. What a twist! This whole entire episode's filled with twists that you could easily see coming. Of course, Oboro's like, I'm not gonna completely punch your sister and her friend in the face really hard. Only slightly do that. By this point now, anytime you fight a Z Syndicate leader, they will be using their fully illegal set. The Rock Canshin, which is Oboro's Strike Vanisher, is the illegal Strike Vanisher. It has better ground mobility. It also has around 8 dashes, and all those dashes have invincibility. He's also using the Worm Gun, which is a better dragon gun, where on the ground it will fire about 5 dragon projectiles that have high homing potential. And if you fire it in the air, it fires a very fast dragon projectile that will immediately knock you down. The more dangerous of the two is Oboro, just because of his I have 8 dashes that give me iframes. Also, his Worm Gun is way more dangerous than the Eagle Gun. Sergei himself is running the Wolf Spider, which is the modified illegal spider pod. It has a lot better tracking potential, and it does a lot more damage. Out of all the spider pods, it's my favorite just because it has a lot better tracking potential. It also will move towards whoever's it's targeted at, which is another good thing about the Wolf Spider, as the regular spider pods don't do that. It's around this part where the double battles get really crazy just because there's so many pods, explosions, and whatnot. Of course, with Oboro down, this fight's a lot easier just because I don't have to worry about iframes or the Worm Gun. If I'm right, Oboro is also using the Treble Bomb, which is a illegal modified version of the Delta Bomb, which is my favorite bomb, just because of the coverage it has. And if I'm right, Sergei's bomb is the Wyvern bomb, which is just a better standard bomb. Sergei kind of gets shafted on his illegal parts, as the rest of the members of Z have better illegal parts, particularly Oboro. That's not to say Sergei's loadout is bad, it's just that it's a lot... It doesn't really compare to what Oboro or even Eliza and her sister have. And just like that, Oboro blinds us with pocket sand, somehow escaping with Rahu. And if I'm right, that is the last we see of Evil in A New Journey. He will show up in Grand Battle, but I'll talk about Grand Battle more when we get to the end of A New Journey. Yeah, the only other thing we can do is go to the police squad HQ, because we have to do that whole entire plot dump now. Also, Harry needs to get his Robo back. Around this part has probably one of my favorite comedic bits ever in the game. Just because you wouldn't know. But first, before we get to that comedic part, we gotta tell the Chief and Mira that, yeah, Rahu's at Diamonds, and the Z Syndicate took it. Roy's doing the dirty work of finding Z's hideout in the outside world, and this is where we get our first real, actual twist, I would say. That's not seen beforehand, like with Sergei or Evil. Well, the world's round, don't you know? Not in this world. This is probably one of my favorite bits in a game ever, because you don't know the information of the world in Custom Robo, so you're just gonna go with what you know, which is, oh yeah, the Earth is round. Well, Custom Robo is in a world where people believe the flat Earth theory, so the Earth's flat. And there's a definitive end. It's such a funny haha moment of you don't know this world's history, and the only history you have to base it on is your own world history, which is, oh yeah, the world is round. And then you get immediately told, no, you're an idiot. But the reason why we were asked that is because, well, that's a lie. That's a big, fat, dirty lie, as we're about to find out with Roy investigating the outside world. But first we have to go to the restroom, because that's how we're gonna actually go to the outside world. Because no one would question an elevator in a restroom. No one would question anything out of place in a restroom. See, I was originally, when I first saw that, I was going to question, I'm pretty sure people would put their hand on that handprint painting, but the chief goes to say only people who are registered Class S can activate the scanner, which makes sense. So it's like, okay, there's the defensive measure of you're not going to allow people who are not Class S to activate this elevator. Don't you know, bathroom elevators take you to underground trains. I do like that. The main character has really long arms. What is he, a Stretch Armstrong? Of course, the underground train is underneath Daimon's, so every so often, Daimon's restaurant will experience an earthquake, which is always funny. And the restaurant owner doesn't even know what's going on below his restaurant. I will say, this is probably one of the most interesting areas in the game, this weird space hallway. I don't know why it looks like this, why it's a space hallway. It's just an interesting design. The only problem about this room is, yeah, all it is just a corridor to this wall, which leads to the outside world. Of course, this location here that we're at is where the giant Custom Robo statue is near Daimon's. So you know that little statue you can see sometimes? Yeah, that's where we're at. Which means that is a very long train ride. That is a very weird route. Because we start at the police headquarters, but we end up somewhere near Daimon's. But at the police headquarters, we're on the left side, and when we exit out of Daimon's, we're on the right side. So that means it's a very roundabout way to get over to the place where the train stops at Daimon's. But yeah, that's the outside world. It's like a Mad Max, but instead of an entire desert, it's just sad and depressing. Which is also like the Mad Max apocalypse, but with less gas and more craters. Yeah, we live in domes. It's kind of like that one episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, where they get the dome that allows them to grow fruits and vegetables, but the fruits and vegetables attack them. It's like that, just minus the fruits and vegetables that attack you. And replace it with robots that attack you. As we learn, Rahu's the one who caused all this, caused the destruction of the outside world. And this is where we actually get a good point brought up. The only people who really know what's going on are anyone who's Class S. They know that the outside world exists and that Rahu has destroyed the outside world. And what gets brought up is the idea of living in ignorance. The people who are not Class S don't know what's going on in the outside world. And what the chief is saying is that they don't really need to know what's going on in the outside world because it doesn't really affect their lives. Now, there's another point to that argument that I can bring up that will counter that, but I'm not going to bring it up right now, as later on it gets brought up, and that's when I'll start talking about that. But what he's saying is that knowledge of the outside world really doesn't affect everyday people's lives. Which he is, in a way, right. You don't need to know about everything in the world, such as you don't need to know that there actually is an outside world if it really doesn't affect your life. But again, there's a counter point to that that will counter that argument that he's bringing up. Basically, what they're saying is it's better to live on a placid island of ignorance than venture out into the deep black sea of the infinite. Essentially, once Roy finds the hideout, him and Mira are gonna take care of the Z Syndicate with our help from the Steelhearts gang. Ah, but that would be a breach of the whole entire we can't talk about the outside world. So that's the whole entire reason for Class S. It's to have people who are mentally and physically strong enough to protect everyone from the outside world, in a sense. The chief mentions that because Rahu is existing now in these times, it's dangerous for everyone, and I could bring up the point that would counter his living in ignorance point from that, but I do not have enough time to talk about that, and it's brought up later on, and that's when I'll talk about it. Because it's actually a very good point. The only other thing we can do for the day is think over everything we've been told for today and wonder if we're actually going to join the police squad in their mission. With that said, this has been episode 11, and we'll decide if we're going to join them in episode 12.